this concept can be applied in so many different areas, especially when it has to do with conflict. Because team conflict is oftentimes really a result of a problem, and the conflict itself is really a symptom. Well, hey there, welcome to Mac TV, where we of course believe that the transformation from manager to leader is such a crucial one. And that's because, well, true leaders, they change lives and they are having such a profound effect on today's working environment. So if you are a manager that is struggling with one of the most common workplace challenges, team conflict, then this episode is for you, because we are going to dive into a couple strategies to help you deal. So let's get started. So team conflict, yes, it is one of those things that is inevitable. And I mean, how can it not be, right? You're bringing together a group of people with different backgrounds, views, and personalities. So from time to time, those views, personalities, and backgrounds are going to clash. So you do have to come up with a game plan as to how to deal with it, not if it happens, but when it happens. Now, before we get into the tips and strategies, I want to say something very important about conflict, which is that not all conflict is bad. In fact, in this video right here, I talk about the fact that healthy conflict is actually a really good thing, because that means that there is trust on the team. Another reason that this is so good is because if they're not fearful to push back, then they'll push back on ideas that are not really the greatest, and so bad ideas won't float to the top, as well as the fact that you might come up with much better ways to do things. So it's actually a good thing to have healthy team conflict. Okay, so the first thing I'll say about conflict is that you can't really jump into solving everything right away. You first have to figure out what the actual problem is. So in this video right here, I talk about a concept that I learned in a book by Keith Cunningham, where he talks about addressing problem, not symptom. Now in the book, he's really talking about business and marketing, but I feel like this concept can be applied in so many different areas, especially when it has to do with conflict, because team conflict is oftentimes really a result of a problem, and the conflict itself is really a symptom. So if you're quick to kind of like jump in and solve everybody's problem, then you're most likely going to have this conflict reoccur again because of the fact that you didn't address the core problem. So when dealing with conflict, the first hat that you want to put on is your hat of problem, not symptom. The second strategy is to develop some sort of process around handling team conflict. So perhaps you want to have a team charter or set an expectation that when that person has an issue, they should actually go handle it with the person they're having the problem with before they come to you. Now that is advice out of the Bible, and I 100% agree with it. You see, most conflicts just really stem from a misunderstanding. And so if the individual is first encouraged to speak to the person that they're having the issue with, well, they might just find out that it was a miscommunication, and they're able to squash it between the two of them. Plus, every time that they're having to drink this courage juice and actually address their issues as adults with one another, well, they're building that muscle of courage, and I think that that's a great thing. So if it does end up trickling up to you, which it will from time to time, even though you've set that expectation, one of the first things you want to say is, hey, did you talk to so-and-so about the issue that you're having? If not, then I encourage you to do that. And if you guys can't work it out between you, then come to me. Tip number 3 is that if it reaches escalation and it actually gets to you, then do your best to get the full story. Don't draw your conclusions off of one person's side of the story. Something that I've learned is that there is always more to the story. And even if you think you know, chances are you don't know everything. So just hold off making any decisions or judgments or whatever until you hear everybody's side of the story. Tip number 4 is to document everything. And I don't mean for like documentation's sake, I mean for your memory's sake. Because oftentimes when like you're in the situation, listening to what's going on, because maybe you have to play the calmer, like the person that's like, okay, it's gonna be okay, you're forgetting so much of the nuance. So it's really good to jot down the notes so that you can really reflect later on as to what was said, what's not being said, and get to the root cause of the problem. Tip number 5 is to turn off interruptions. I know this is a simple one, but it does need to be said because I've actually been in the room before in conversations like this where somebody's phone buzzes and then it like throws off the entire vibe. So if you're going into a conversation like this, turn your notifications on silent, turn your phone upside down so you're not distracted by the light when it goes off, and just like be present in the moment. Finally, when you guys get through it, acknowledge that you got through it together. I think this is actually really important because that means that everyone involved really tried to find a solution to work through this problem together, and that's really commendable. Plus, you have to remember that we as human beings, we feed off of commendation, and it does have effects in different areas. So if you commend your team members today for being solutions oriented and getting through this conflict, then later on, whether they have a conflict or not, let's say they're dealing with any sort of problem, they'll know that they have the ability to get through the problem and they'll feel more confident trying to solve it on their own. So let's wrap this video up with one of the key points that I want you to take away from this mini lesson. In order to truly solve conflict, you have to put on your problem, not symptom hat on and really get to what the root cause is of that team conflict. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit on the subscribe and notification bell. And if you're looking for more insights on team culture and team development and leadership development, then head on over to makitaandrews.com. And while you're there, feel free to get subscribed and download your new Manager Starter Kit. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Don't forget to keep smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.